And welcome back to AR Sales, aka the A.R.T podcast. I am A.R. and today we are joined by a returning fan, author, friend, every word you can possibly put in there, but most importantly, peer, Brittany Leonard. She is an author, artist. She has a whole bunch of work under her that I want to talk to her about, but she is working on right now a graphic novel called Element. We have talked about it in the past, and many months have passed since then. So without any further ado, Brittany, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm outstanding and improving, especially with the new year, 2022, first episode of the new year.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So getting right off started, you already have like a new like hairdo for the people like that have been watching the episodes. I've watched the previous episodes with you in it. Blonde, different hairdo. Now you're new hair. So like how's that working?
Honestly, I love it. It started because when I was drawing one of my characters, she has bangs. And so I was like trying to like figure out how bangs sit. So I like put on a hat and like folded my hair over top to try to make bangs. And like as a reference photo for when I was drawing her. And then when I took the picture, I was like, damn, I look cute with bangs. So then I wanted to make bangs, but I couldn't find an appointment. So I waited until Christmas when I was off for 2 weeks and then I just cut them myself.
Man, that is awesome. I'm really glad that I asked that because it immediately made me think of like how character creation works, where you get so obsessed with an idea, not
Yeah.
even obsessed with the idea and the fact that like, oh, I need to be my character now, but more kind of like, oh, I wonder how that would look like. And you just want to like make as much as a physical representation of that character, so you have like a reference point, and then like what that leads to from there, you know.
Yeah.
Like it's funny, just like the idea of you trying to figure out how the bangs in your character would look like. Now you have bangs. It's kind of
Yeah.
funny.
Now I look more like my character.
Yeah, man, it's funny. I wonder if I should like start like dyeing my hair now and start doing all the cool things. I mean, I would love to rock some armor like Zako and be posted at all times and be doing all that crazy. I'd love to have some of that Legion power, just be able to like move my hand around and do and say whatever. That'd be cool for like a day. I think I'd get tired of it though.
Yeah, for sure.
I like kind of waking up and not having like, a whole planet of responsibility right on my forehead.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, considering everything with like how Element is going, what is the latest updates? How is the drawing? I mean, if you're not aware, if you're not following her on Instagram, you got to make sure to follow her on Instagram, follow her wherever you got to. She has been really on top of the stories and the post and just really putting people through the process that you put yourself through. And I really like that a lot, which is why I wanted to make sure that we had a chance to talk this year, because I've been seeing that since we've talked, a lot of moves have been made. So you want to kind of address some of those moves and what you're excited for in the new year?
I would say right now is a really good time to start following me because I'm hosting a scavenger hunt on my Instagram.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just an idea that you know how like sometimes people will put like 9 squares on their Instagram. It's like individual and it adds up to one picture.
I just found out how to do that today.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it started with that I could use like one of my illustrations and break it into 9 different panels, and then that's 9 posts, right? But then I thought, well, it's going to look really weird, like just to have like that little snip of a photo of a panel. So I thought, oh, you know what? I'll make it a carousel post. People can swipe through and see like some other illustrations and also receive like some background information on like the setting and the characters and things like that. So yeah, so that's what's going on. And there's hints every day. So when I get to the end of the 9 panels to form the final picture, everyone will have what they need to participate, and every participant wins a free printed artwork from me. And the winner, like whoever does the thing that they have to do first, will win either a copy of my teaser of Element, which is just like, it's just like the first like some of the pictures from it, not all of them, but just like kind of a sample of it. Or they can get a copy of the first chapter in black and white, because I finished that.
My God, that is phenomenal. And just like the fact that you just actually held that up right now is just impeccable, huh? Just be able to go from the very first book that you did, that awesome children's story, to be able to go into this and actually hold a graphic novel in your hand that you made.
Mm-hmm.
I actually just had that feeling like a little while ago, where I actually went over to a friend's house and like they had like the book just scattered somewhere, and I picked it up, and it was the long time. I mean, I obviously like the room is scattered with the merch, but I don't pay attention to it. This is like, I don't even see the stuff anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, that was the first time I actually like picked up the book in a while. I was like, oh, I made this, and I like went through it. I was like, oh, I made like every inch of this, and it was like I got emotional for a second. It could have been the liquor, you know, you know. You know how you get when you're on a bar, you're like have your arm around a buddy. Oh man, I love you. I was doing the same thing with the book. It's like, ah man, we don't talk enough, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm reminiscent of that emotion, because just I can only imagine you had that tenfold holding that book, because I've talked to you. I obviously haven't been with the process as much as you have. Obviously, it goes without saying, but we're friends. I mean, we talk not on and off on the podcast, and I've literally been with you. I saw your proofs. Like I read through like the initial writings of the thing, or even like the blocks of it, the actual like, you know, descriptions of what the pictures are going to be. And now to actually see to see the proof of it, to see the example of it. Oh my God, I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's funny because I finally like feel like I can start seeing the finish line. Like now that I've finished, not actually, like, I mean,
wow.
There's still a lot of work to do, but I started this in like 2017. So there was a lot of like building the story before I even started writing it, and then writing it. And now I'm finally like getting to illustrate it. So it's cool to actually start seeing it come all into place.
My God, I'm actually like geeked, honestly. Just you know, like artist to artist type of thing. Like I literally understand. I would say a little bit more, unless the people listening are also doing this, a little bit more than the average person just like listening to this. I truly understand what that means. It's unreal the amount of hours that a simple drawing can take you, isn't it?
Oh, totally.
That you wake
people
up,
look at it and they're like, that's nice. I'm like, yeah, that took me like 12 hours. Like,
and I don't mean 12 hours the way, like, you know, you say 12 hours, like you had a 12-hour at work, meaning you took like, you know, whatever break of Instagram you felt like it, like, you know, to get paid, coffee breaks, you know, all that fun stuff. No. I didn't go and had to have lunch and get a couple beers with my coworkers. None of that happened. It was 12 hours of actual until I got to a point that I was like, okay, enough. Not even a point that I was like, yay, but a point of like, all right, we're good now.
Yeah, exactly.
My God, but I can just, that feeling, that emotion of actually being able to create those like works. How do you treat character creation? We already discussed a little bit about how it actually, how it represents, like how it manifests in like the life of the artist, but how do you actually go about creating them? Is it a vision that you almost close your eyes and the character just kind of develops based on like how you wanted them to be? Or is it something that changes? It's something that I think about more and more, especially when you see these like movie and TV adaptations of TV, where like they'll change like a character that was written, maybe it wasn't even written with a race, but they'll give it'll be cast as an African American person or an Indian American person, and it just gives it like a new eye. It's like, oh, I didn't even look at that person in that sense, but it doesn't change the character in any way. I just didn't look about it that way. Know what I mean? So how do you envision that, and do you think it makes a difference?
I would say like it's different for every character. Like some characters I always knew like everything about them, like their personality, their looks, their background, how they would act in certain situations. And some of them kind of developed and changed, or so they were just like skeleton people, like when I first started. And I had to put a lot of time and effort into thinking like, their background story and how they would react differently from other characters and how they would talk differently from other characters and things like that. And then I would say like my side characters that aren't like the main ones, those ones are typically like I have a specific role for them in the story. And then I would think of like an actor or like another character in another book and try to think of like what kind of vibe I wanted that character to have. Are they going to be super serious or like really silly or like kind of like strange? And then from there, I would, yeah, kind of when it comes to like illustrating them, I would look up those other characters and actors and kind of combine a whole bunch into the character. Yeah, so it kind of depends on who it is.
Yeah, it actually is kind of funny because I've been so far away from the character to create. I mean, you know how my whole like mythos and writing goes. Like everything that I want to write about, I've been having in the tank for a while. So like as far as character creation, I haven't created a new character in a long time. So I almost forgot. I've been so far away from the process, I almost forgot. But as you were saying that, I just like reminded that like literally like Seiko, for example, was based on Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then like Jid was based on like my vision of what kind of a scrawny type of nerdy person would be, which if you think about it, is honestly stereotypical. Like he could have been a big buff guy that just liked the sciences, but also like being a gym rat. That's possible.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I just kind of like now thinking about it, I just went for more of the stereotypical kind of like that nerdy, slanky looking kid. And then Haas, I just went kind of like my like almost like Goku in a sense. Kind of like, you know, big muscular, charismatic. Now thinking about it, those type of things that were really did kind of stem for what you said, kind of like other media that inspired maybe like qualities that I like, or maybe things that I just wanted to see in a character. And I went off that.
Yeah.
Man, I character creation is something that I have just been like going more and more into, because there's a line that I've been thinking about more and more about the idea of like stereotypical characters, or like kind of like doing too much, like being too obvious around the nose was like certain like characterizations. Like recently the new Matrix came out, right? And I don't know if you've seen the Matrix, but like I just rewatched it and I just got like nerded out in that whole series. I mean, that idea is crazy. But like one of like the characters in it is this black woman called the Oracle. Now, I've literally watched other YouTube videos of people breaking down, of other authors breaking down that character and how it's almost racist because she fills the role of like the magical Negro. If you ever heard of like that term, like it's been used in Shawshank Redemption. Okay. And a few other movies, kind of like where they have like this this person that comes into like typically a white person's life and just like, you know, magically adds a little fucking peppering and everything's like better, right? And for the most part, in other examples, I can kind of agree with what they're talking about. But I always felt in Matrix it was a little different because of what we talked about before. Like the race of the the race of the Oracle isn't different. If it was cast as an Indian American, as anything else, it wouldn't have changed the character whatsoever. So to me, it was like it was just cast as like, you know, like when they were casting people, that black woman showed up and just did the like, you know, she just did the best interview. Yeah, she just did the best interview. Yeah, that was the end of the story. So with that in mind, how do you feel about that? Like, how do you feel, like, for example, because we have talked that you are one of those people that envision your stuff eventually being on Netflix, eventually being transformed and like that type of thing. Yeah. So how do you feel about your media in that sense? Let's say that somebody comes up to you and we're like, oh, you know what? We're actually going to cast this and that as this and that. Do you think it makes a difference? Like, how do you feel about that as the creator?
Well, it's funny because like when it comes to illustrating, I don't want it to look super whitewashed, like in my characters, but also like then I'm like, well, how do I make someone look more African American or more, you know, whatever? Like then it's like then you're stereotyping what people look like their features and stuff, right? So that it's so I don't know. So when I went to create like the people in the other worlds, I still haven't decided on their skin color yet, but I want it to not necessarily be like a version of Peach, you know, like I want it to maybe be like, I toyed with like Avatar. Is it Avatar? No. What's the one with the blue people?
That's Avatar.
Avatar. Okay.
Yeah.
So I toyed with that.
Mind
But then
fuck, huh?
I don't know. That's gonna be a lot. And I'm like, I know a lot of differing opinions on that movie. So yeah, so I don't know what they're gonna look like yet. But yeah, when it came to like comes to casting, like I wouldn't care like what people would want to cast the different people as long as like, yeah, the people could act and suit the personality of the character, I think would be more important than what they look like necessarily.
Huh. Man, you see now that's such an even that whole thing that you just talking they brought up bringing up Avatar and the whole kind of like idea around that is such an interesting thing because I could fully understand how you could create that and you're like, oh well, planet full of aliens, why wouldn't they be blue, right?
Yeah.
I could fully believe that that wouldn't come from a racist standpoint at all.
Mm-hmm.
But then it was actually my mother that put me onto this in like the 1940s. It was like a typical thing. Kind of like when like the U.S. was like segregated. My mom like went through this, so she actually like kind of told me about it. It was typical to call African Americans blues when you wanted to talk about them in front of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So when you try to bring that idea together with Avatar, then it becomes a little bit more racist. So it's all about perspective because I could fully understand that you could create that with no intention, no anything, the same way that any of us could do it. Like kind of like, oh no, I just thought it would be kind of cool, but not realizing you're stepping on toes.
Mm-hmm.
Man, just that's something else, isn't it?
Yeah. So I haven't decided yet what color they're going to be.
Well,
I don't know.
Well, just knowing like a lot about Element itself, like, we'll definitely get more into it in like a second. But everything is broken about into, as the namesake goes, into prime elements: fire, water, air. So maybe the skin color, skin tones could be derivative of like where they're from. Fire could obviously be a little more tan because they would be, they're tan.
Ooh,
Then maybe people that the people in the water tribe aren't like man, I can't think of like but there was like a cartoon that I used to watch that people from like the like colder regions almost had like an off blue skin tone. It was white, but it looked almost bluish, like it like almost like went along. You know what I mean? And maybe like it could just kind of go like that.
Ooh,
I don't know.
I like that idea.
I don't know. Because even that is like in essence, like for example, the reason I've been thinking about this a lot is because of the original idea of what I thought about like how my world would be is that there actually wasn't any ideas of races or like colors or anything like that because like the human population, the human race has been so diluted at this point in the future that like there are no more like everyone is just tan, some variation of tan. Like all races are just like comparable. There aren't any like features are specific to any like region. Everything is just humans are humans at this point. But then I just figured like the kind of like, when I sit back and I fantasize about like, being in the casting chair and, sitting next to Leonardo DiCaprio, like, oh man, yeah, I don't know what we're going to do for the scene. When I had those like nice little fantasies, I think about kind of like seriously thinking it's like, oh, well, imagine if I do get, a Timothy Charcuterie, whatever his name is, come down and I'm like, oh no, we got to turn him down. He's like, he's a little too pale for this movie. A little too pale. We're going for a skin tone thing here. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that is the main thing that I've been driving at, and the main thing that's kind of like concerning me. Like, how far are you willing to go for the minute things in your story? Like how much relevance, how much significance are those things to you? Let's say that you do end up going with the whole, one tribe is one thing. Like, how do you treat that as a creator? How far are you willing to go for those minute things?
True. Well, I mean, I guess, I don't know. That'll come if someone wants to pick up my series as Netflix, sure. I'll figure it out. I'll jump through all the hoops. It doesn't matter.
Oh my God. No, I guess the only reason I'm thinking about it so intently is kind of like especially on the physical medium, right? It doesn't just have to be a Netflix thing, but just like as you're treating as a graphic novel, ideas that you have on paper obviously change and transform when they go on like the drawing platform and you actually have to make it as a physical image. Have you had any issues like that so far? Any like things that you have to set back on a little bit and almost think to yourself?
There was one of my characters was kind of, he's adventurous, so he doesn't really like care too much about, like, he doesn't worry too much, right? Like one character is very anxious and like worrying all the time, and the other one's like more laid back and adventurous, and he's a guy, so he's just like, yeah, whatever, like just do it. And so there were like some inconsistencies with him when he came into this other world, and my editor was like, even though he's adventurous, don't you think he would be like a little bit like either scared or cautious or like, you know, react to something? She's like, I get that he's adventurous, but there still needs to be like consistency of, you know, like real,
he's human, yeah,
react in a situation.
yeah.
So with that, I had to kind of readjust how I did things, but that was like in a draft that I already knew needed to be tweaked. Like I already knew it wasn't perfect yet. So I like adjusted it, and by the end of it, she said like, yeah, it's like to the T now, like it's more consistent, and like his personality is more suited to the situations he's in, and things like that. I would say that would be probably the biggest one that's come out, just because that was like something that I actually had to like make the decision and like formulate in that time period. But other things, I don't know, it's just so organic. Like this, like for instance, like the second and third book in the series, I just finished writing the second book, and I don't know, it's like taken on a life of its own, and there's like mythical creatures and stuff in it that I hadn't necessarily planned on before. But I've had a lot of fun like researching like the history behind like different characters. Like for instance, leprechauns are apparently traditionally red, not green.
Really?
And apparently they have like this power that if you look away from them, they can magically disappear and like reappear somewhere else. So you have to keep your eyes on them or else they'll disappear on you. And they're also like huge tricksters. So like if you're trying to make a deal with them, you got to be careful because they'll try to like trick you. So there's like all this other stuff behind leprechauns that I didn't even know about. So it was like cool as I was like trying to embed like different mythical creatures in, and I would learn like the true origins and like realities of these different creatures that our world has like completely misconstrued over time.
Man, I love that concept so much. Talk about mythical creatures. What did you incorporate, especially with your drawing style? I can only imagine.
Well, in the first book, there's not a ton of mythical creatures. There's a couple dragons, which I really wanted to include, except when I first started writing the book, I was like, there's no way I can draw a dragon. Like I tried and they just all looked so awful. But then I stumbled across this book that like gives you like step by step how to draw dragons and how to draw different types of dragons, which I didn't even know there were like different types. Like there's like different elemental dragons, like fire, water, earth, and air. And there's like Norse dragons and
Rin dragons and
like every country kind of has its own, like not every country, but like the other side of the world.
Yeah.
lots of them do, where like civilization began, right? So so there's them. There's a kitsune or kitsune, however you pronounce that, which is from Japanese folklore, and it's a person who, or a fox who can disguise themselves as a person. And they can be good, they can be bad, they can be both. They have like magical powers. They live for hundreds of years, and each 100 years they grow a new tail, which tells you how old they are. And they have, some of them, like once they have, I think like 10 tails or something, they have like an orb that they carry with them. And then if the orb's stolen, then their powers go with it, sort of thing. So there's a kitsune in it, and that's it for the first book. And then in the second book so far, there's another dragon and fairies and a leprechaun.
Do the mythical creatures speak?
Some of them do, yeah.
Like, does the dragon speak?
One of the dragons does, the other two don't. I don't know about the fourth one yet. Probably.
Man, that is awesome. I love a good dragon. Can't lie to you. I mean, I love a good like mythical creature. I love a good fantastical world that like really incorporates like different things like that. Cause it just like lets you wonder of like how fantastical our world could have been in the past, and we just kind of like let it get muddied by like, I don't know, skyscrapers and technology.
Yeah.
But going off of that, because one thing that I've always loved about your world is that it is fantastical, but with a civilization built around it. Like these places do have cities. There is pollution in these like elemental like planes, which I've always loved. So how did you go about that? Because I remember last time we talked that it was kind of like how you were, it was an issue about how you were going to actually represent the polluted areas, right? And how did you end up going with it?
Well, so there's the 4 dimensions of each element, and basically like the people mostly lived in the air dimension, which is where the city is, and that's where all the pollution is. And then they end up moving to the earth dimension to escape the polluted city, and create like a little civilization there. And then the pollution starts like seeping into the other areas, and affecting like the climate and the ecosystems and things like that. Yeah.
Now, one thing that immediately made me think, I know how we had talked about it in the past, is how are you treating the marketing for books? So you've been speaking about book 2. So what is the official timeline and progression of book 1? Where's book 2? And how are you treating all the merch? Because I see that you're rocking some merch right now. I mean, if you want to go show it off, yeah, that's awesome. Does it have a back or is it just the front?
Just the front, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm still like fumbling my way through marketing and promoting.
Aren't we all?
I know. It's same with like publishing. Like, so I've been trying to figure out if I want to publish this next one through KDP on Amazon, or if I want to do something else. So over the winter, I've been going to like Christmas markets and things like that, trying to sell my children's book and some of this merch. So I met some contacts there, and I think I'm gonna publish there. I'd still be self-published, but there's a company that I can mass print like hundreds of books instead of just like one book at a time through Amazon, and the quality will be better. And also like KDP just drove me nuts with the formatting. Like this book, I want it to come out and look good, right? So, and also with printing through them, they also have distributors, because that's been an issue too, like trying to figure out how to get my book distributed to bookstores and whatnot. So I think that's what I'm gonna do for this next one, maybe, which also like kind of has an impact on the timeline, because you have to give them the book like 3 months before it would be ready to be printed and released. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to just order myself printed copies from Amazon for each chapter, just like you would get like a comic. You could get like a volume of comics with like 4 issues in it, which is like book 1. So I think I'll print each chapter individually so that I can release them. There's people who over the past year, as I've been promoting my children's book, are super interested in this graphic novel and have like said, hey, I'll come back to this market next year so that I can buy your graphic novel. But in terms of timing, I'm like, I want to have it done for this year, but I just realistically won't be able to. So I think I'm gonna have, the first chapter and a second chapter available for the summer. I want to have both of those at the same time, because the end of the first chapter is the end of like our world, and then the second chapter is the new world. So I want people to like be able to experience like the actual place that the book is taking place in. So hopefully chapter 1 and 2 by the end of summer, and then I'm hoping chapter 3 and 4 maybe the end of next year, beginning of the following year. And then by that point, I'm hoping I can send it all to get like book 1 with all 4 chapters into it. So a little bit longer than I wanted, but yeah, that's the way it goes.
No, that is really interesting. Wow. You see, that is something completely you know how many people I taught through this like platform, and I have not heard anything like that so far. I like that idea a lot. Only thing that I'm thinking about is how would you handle electronic sales, or would it would have to purely be a physical thing?
Like, do you mean people buying the book from me, or like?
Yeah, like if a person wanted like an ebook version.
Oh, an ebook version? Yeah. I could probably still do an ebook on Amazon, probably. But honestly, like, I don't know if it's just because it was a children's book, but my last book, like, I sold 1 ebook. So I'm like, I think it'll be different with this, but yeah. So yeah, I could probably do an ebook on Amazon. But also I'm working on setting up a shop on my website. It's kind of up. I don't know if I'll get any sales from it, but there's merch there. And then, yeah, I'm thinking I might sell my books like from there too.
I tried the same thing. Well, like not tried. I mean, I currently have the same thing open where I have like a whole bunch of like things, but for whatever reason, like and I even did have like a sale and a promotion with even like a little pop-up announcement where the moment you walked it, like the moment you logged onto the website,
yeah,
having like a specific sale that was actually cheaper than Amazon or anything else, and it only resulted in like a couple sales. Weirdly
right.
enough, though, when I first launched my book, I did get 85 pre-orders off my website alone.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So like I don't, the thing is that like what it is to me is it seems like there's like a lot of information coming in, but like I don't know how to assess it yet. You know what I mean? I think that's the main thing, is that like everyone that I talk to, everyone's making a lot of moves this year, or just like like everyone's making moves, right?
Yeah.
But like it's so hard to assess which moves are like fruiting anything, you know, or like actually come to fruition on anything.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing to kind of like go on. But personally, I think the coolest thing that people can focus on right now are just, I mean, like things like merch, things that like really personalize like the work that you're making, and like make it that it's not just like one book, but kind of like almost a brand. You know,
Yeah.
Life of a Shadow is like a brand. It's not just like it's not a book, but you can get like a whole thing with it. It comes with the how to make a shadow thing in the background. I mean, like you can sell that as like a separate thing, you know, just like with the logo on it. Like it's like a brand. And the same thing with like Element. You already have like the book coming up. I can only imagine the different types of thing. I mean, like cool little knickknacks that like stay with people. Imagine just a keychain with a different
here's one for you.
Elemental like runes on it. I mean, it's limitless.
Oh yeah. So here's my thought is I've been learning how to make candles. Because my thought is Element is so based off of the 5 senses. Like when I was planning it, like it was like all about the color and all about the environment and like each ecosystem and how like the daylight, how much daylight there is. Like each element is completely different from the rest, right? Like even looking back here, you can see like the color palettes are all different. So my thought is to make candles for each element, and each one is scented differently, so that when people are reading, they can light whatever element they're in and fully immerse themselves in the experience.
Damn, son. Now you see, that's good. Like that's like a really cool idea. My mom actually, back in the day, used to have a company called My Angel's Call, not related to me at all. And she would make soaps and candles and like everything around that. And I remember the moment I started Neotino, I was like egging her on. I was like, yo, let's start, let's get that back on. Because when she started that, the whole like organic vegan soap type of shit was not a vibe. Like I remember people would literally go up to her in the farmer's market and be like, I mean, why wouldn't I just buy Dove? Like confused. Like generally just be like, why wouldn't I? I mean, why would I spend? And now over here, not now, it's like, oh, $15 for a bar of soap. Right there, buddy. Let me get 5 of them.
Yeah.
With no discount. And and right now, that's kind of like where I'm at. I was thinking of almost making like soaps that have like little figurines in it. You know how, so like when you would use the soap, it would kind of like do something special when you would hit like the actual figurine, and then you would be able to keep the figurine at the end.
Cool.
Man, but like the idea of like a soap, which is, imagine like a fire elemental soap that smells like burnt whatever you want to do, or like a water thing that's like that cooling water smell. It's just like, I love things like that, because it's almost to the level of like what I think the future of like what this is be like, of like being a truly successful like author in this thing. I think most of us can see that like for book sales alone, you're not gonna fly. Know what I mean? So I think the coolest, like I think like the most kind of fruitful venture that we can get into are things like this. I can only imagine. I mean, I myself, just thinking about it, would love a candle, simply with just, especially if you can like if it's a thing that you can make it and you find like a press, so you can actually like almost like put logos on the candle itself. Make like a red candle of like a fire plane, and then like put the fire logo on top of it, and the back of it put your company logo with like a little website. Oh my god. Even take it to the route of Snapple, put like a fucking inspirational quote on each candle. Oh my god. Like that. Oh my god. And you do it so you put it at the base, so you only get the inspirational quote after the candle's done.
Right. Oh, clever.
Boom.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Things like that are like getting me more and more hype for this stuff. Especially that like you're at the same boat that I am, that it's not just writing. It's like an artist thing. It's all encompassing.
Yeah.
So, which brought me up to the last thing I wanted to talk about is, since you are, and honestly, I think that like me and you are one of like the few that I truly know. I would say Sam Adam is also like really, really passionate about it too. But since you are so almost, I would say 50-50 with, it's not just a love of writing, it's a huge love of art. Not just that you doodle over here and here, but it's like it's a thing that you also really, really highlight on. How do you find that balance between drawing, graphic designing, and writing? To me, right now, that is the biggest obstacle, where it feels like the moment you're putting too much energy into one thing, you feel like a decline in the other. And that's the scariest thing, because like who wants to do like 2 months of designing and then feel like they have to go almost backwards in the writing game? Because like they have to get the hamster wheels rolling again.
I would say like, I mean, like marketing and like that is its own thing. Like that takes up way too much of my time, and like I don't necessarily enjoy it. But when it comes to like writing and illustrating, it's been like actually really nice for me to balance those two things, because if I'm not feeling super into illustrating, I'll just work on writing. Or if I'm tired of writing, I'll skip over to illustrating. And I kind of find I go, and it lets me like I've been kind of pacing out one compared to the other. So it'll be like, oh, over the summer, I'm gonna finish this many pages and all like of illustrations, and then I'll write like 2 chapters of the next book, so that I'm planning ahead, so that so next year, hopefully 2022, so hopefully 2023 I'll have my whole book 1 out. My book 2 is going to the editor this week to be developmentally edited, so that hopefully by this time next year I can start working on the illustrations for book 2, and already have it all edited and everything good to go. So that's kind of how I've been pacing it out, is just, planning ahead. And okay, so now I have book 1 all finished. I don't need to do any more writing for it. So when I need a break from illustrating, I'll work on writing book 2 a little bit, and then working on getting that ready for when I'm ready to start illustrating book 2.
My God, I honestly have goosebumps. Like, I'm not kidding. I wish the camera could like pick up on it. Just the whole process. I've literally like, I vividly remember our last conversation, and just like from then to now and everything you've been doing. You have merch up. I see behind you have posters of the multiple posters of your artwork up now. I love seeing this type of stuff, and I can only imagine what's going to come in the future. So having said all that, having said to where you are now with book 1, where you're going to be with book 2, how do you feel for the future? Because I do believe that you told me that the full series is a 4-book series, right? For what you currently have planned?
Yeah, either 3 or I think I've narrowed it down to be 3 now.
3? Okay.
Wait, I haven't written book 3, so it could seep into 4. We'll see.
Okay. And I even like the whole like idea of getting it out quicker. Like doing it chapter per chapter. Because again, like what really determines a book? Like who's to say that you really have to wait 2 years for a book that you sell for $10, as opposed to every couple months you sell 1 chapter for like 3 and change?
Yeah,
who's to say?
That's how like comics function. Like I don't think, I had talked to the printers about it, and they said, well, it's not really like worth your money to do like chapter by chapter. But that's why I figure if I do it on Amazon, where it's a bit cheaper, and I don't know, people are eager for it. Like I don't want to lose readers because, 3 years from now they forget that they even wanted to read this book. So I'd rather just like give them a couple chapters just to hold them off for a bit.
Well, I'll say one thing. Never ever underestimate the power of fan. Frank Ocean dropped 1 album. 1 album. You go on any music forum ever, and the moment this man's name is discussed, it's like, no, but that next album, when it comes though, it's like he's still in the list of like best ever. He made 1 album, and people are still waiting on that. So like, with it's not he comes out every year. It's like, oh, just a couple months, I'm working in the studio. Nothing, no sound, not a peep from this man, and people are still waiting on that. Like
it's
the second coming of books, Jesus,
right? Like Game of Thrones, Name of the Wind. Like there's fans that are just like waiting.
So like, I truly believe if you've gotten people excited, and just for excited as I've been, I can only imagine how other people have been getting excited. So I truly believe that they're gonna wait. Everything really worth the wait usually is.
Yeah.
Everything just goes together, and I cannot wait for just especially it's 2022 is a new year. Yes. I feel like everyone has like that new like, let's hit this shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like that's where I have my head at. I'm loving the energy, and just if we can really just kind of like grow as a community and just like learn from each other more. I mean, that idea that you had, my God, my mind is just like spinning, because everything that you've thought, because it's funny, everything that you talked about Amazon isn't even the things that I'm concerned about. Amazon they are big daddy as far as profits go. If you sell a book for $16, you're eating like 3 something. Yeah. So and that's on $16. The moment you have an idea of like, fucking around and putting it on sale, forget it. You're getting change. Yeah. So like as anyone can tell you, I mean, just simply like selling a book on Amazon, paperback or hardcover, as opposed to you selling a copy, paperback or hardcover, the profit margin is significantly different. Oh yeah. It's most of the time double, if not triple.
Yeah. And even in terms of sales, I find nobody buys on Amazon, because as soon as you're done like promoting it initially, anyone who wanted to buy it off Amazon has, right? And then it just like falls into like the big pool of thousands of books that are published every day. Whereas I find if I'm selling stuff in person, like at a market, it's way more successful, like way more personal, right? So that's why I'm thinking get some of those paper versions for people to pick up and get excited about.
Well, one thing that I'm going to start doing for this year is that I want to finish every episode with a solid tip, a personalized thing, right? And it's because it's something that immediately kind of like made me perk up my ears. I always hear, well, I can't say always. I would say I have a couple friends every here and here that I'll see a post about them being at a market. I would say you more than most. And I'm over here like, where are these fucking markets? I mean, are they showing up on a thing? Like, what is the deal? Is it like a lost cat poster that I have to sign up for on like a telephone pole? I don't get it. Is there a bat logo in the sky I'm missing? What is the deal? Well, I guess not a bat logo would be just like a logo of like a book or like Stephen King going like this. Whatever. You get my point. I don't know where to find these things. How do you find these things? I can't be the only person scratching at the ears.
I find them quite hard to find too. Like I live on an island, so you'd think like anything happening on the island, like there would be like, you know, you type in the island into Google and it's like all these things are happening. But I found that it's not as easy to find markets as I wanted it to be. And also like when you try to search markets, it'll come up with those weekly markets, like farmers markets, which is not what you're looking for. You're looking for like event markets. So I would say based on the time of year, look for like the markets that are happening. So like we just finished like winter market season, like leading up to Christmas. So like ask people around, like your mom and like her friends, your aunts, whoever like would love to go and like get handcrafted things. Ask them what kind of markets they go to, where and when they are. And then there'll be summer markets or like summer events, right? So like most towns have like our days or like this weekend, right? And then it'll be like a community sort of thing on the weekend. So looking at like specific towns and when their like summer festivities are, you might be able to find some markets there. And then I assume there'll be spring markets. I don't really know what they'd be called, but I think also like continually Googling them. Like if you Google right now, well, it's January, there's no markets happening. So you're not going to find any, right? So look again in March, because then it'll be leading up to spring and summer, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, buddy. Okay. Got a couple ideas now.
And then also, once you get to one market, meet the other vendors, follow them on the gram. And then when it comes to the next market season, be like, hey, what markets do you go to this time of year?
Okay. Now you see, now that is damn. For the amount of things that you see like Instagram post about, it's like, oh, self-publishing versus traditional. It's like, these are the stuff that people need to know about. Damn.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm telling you, I've been doing this for close to I've been doing this for a year now. Mm-hmm. And I still don't know about the goddamn markets. Like, damn. But now I do. People, write that down. You do what you got to do. Remember it. Tattoo it somewhere if you need to. Do what you need to do. Because I'm telling, like, the more and more I see it, I feel like an idiot. Especially now, thinking about like the lost potential of like the Christmas markets. I have so much merch. I could have just fucking.
I would say too, depending on where you order your merch from, like make sure you have stock, right? Or like books, like that was part of it too, was as I was getting ready for winter markets, I like was trying to adjust my cover slightly. So I was like fucking around with Amazon a whole bunch. And then it ended up being, I didn't have time to order my next order of books for the next market. Thankfully, I didn't sell that many books and didn't need that next order. But yeah, just try to like plan ahead. Say you want to do markets this year and you don't have your merch or like a bunch of books yet, just order them now. And then you'll have them for when a market comes up. Because sometimes you might find out, oh, there's a market in like 2 weeks. Well, then you don't really have like a ton of time to plan, right? So just having that stuff on hand. And then when you do go to markets, I would say Google or like go on Pinterest for like market tables and how to set them up. Because that was another like big thing that I didn't really think about, was your setup at your table has a huge impact on what customers come up to you. Like it sounds so silly, but like, yeah, I don't know. I like every day of the market, basically I would rearrange the setup of my table, and every day I would have like a different volume of customers based off of that. Yeah.
Damn, I'm honestly gonna have to like re-listen to this episode myself a couple times just to make sure I got everything like locked and down. 2022. All right. Me and you, Marcus, we're going toe to toe.
Yes.
None of this. Good. None of this. Yeah. All right. And with that, do you have any final statements to say to the people? Anything to hype them up? I mean, you already have 1,000 things to do. You have merch up. Get it now. Follow her on Instagram, author Brittany Leonard. Make sure to hop on that. The Life of a Shadow is already out. Children's book, perfect for a classroom. Mass order it for you and your friends' children. It is worth it. It has a little instructional guide in the back on how to make your own little shadow. Great project for children and just any little tyke in your life. Honestly, it really is really fun. I actually got it from my niece. Then you have Element. I know I need to like post up some pictures. Then you have Element graphic novel, chapter 1 done. Oh shit. Yeah. Proof is in the hands, and that is not an expression. That is a real thing. She has the proof in her hands. And book 2 is being worked on right now. Yeah. Just the amount of hype surrounding you right now is off the charts. But is there anything I've missed on? Anything that you have going on that we haven't discussed yet?
Not yet. I would just remind you to check out my Instagram right now, because there's a contest going on and every participant gets a free print. So you don't want to miss out on that.
Make sure to hop on that. Man, I love a good sweepstakes, honestly. And without any further ado, that's been A.R.'s Tale, aka the A.R.T podcast. I've been A.R. There's been Brittany. Thank you for coming on. It has been an absolute pleasure. A great talk, really insightful, really fun as always. And honestly, I wish you the best in the future. All the best. In the present, I mean, what am I talking about? In the past, what am I? All encompassing, right? And the thing is, too, is that like, and I mean this sincerely, I have no doubt that within 10 years, I'm gonna have to be talking to your like assistant in order to get a little chat. It's gonna be like, oh, that guy with the curly hair and the big head. I don't know. Kind of a weirdo.
No, I'll always make time for
you. Well, I'm glad. Well, again, thank you for all the listeners on there. Make sure to follow Brittany, follow A.R.'s Tales, follow us on Instagram. We have everything up. All links are going to be in the description. Banners will be up on YouTube for us to follow. Check with us every week. We'll be back, and we will be hitting 2022 hard. We are coming hard with it, art and writing. We're trying to get everything encompassed. Neotino, you already know. Peace out. And check with us soon.